Okay, so we're here. I'm Madeleine Swan. I'm with my husband Bill.
Hello.
Sounding very radio-y there. And with Weeven Wearing, aka Stephen Waring, or Lo-Fi Guy, who
Hello,
is
and
here.
Maggie, you should move slightly over to the right, as I cannot actually see your beautiful face.
Oh dear. Well,
And if I can't see
is
it,
this the
the
right?
world won't see it. If the world doesn't see it, we won't get any views.
They aren't going to see me, as I say.
No.
I have said this. I have said this many times.
I'm glad you can't see me, because I've got tangerine juice all down my top.
Are you're not naked or anything, are you? No.
It's like this isolation thing is taking its toll, and you just like let yourself go.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely,
whatever.
yeah. I cut my own hair, so it's probably best that people don't see me. I just can't handle the idea of it getting long, especially over summer. Like the 20s hair is such my thing that I just couldn't bear to lose it. But I've really sort of went to the extreme.
You've gained a different style.
Not really.
No?
I do not believe that is the case.
So you're not going to get the clippers out and go even shorter then?
No, I did it.
Well, I did some clipper work.
Yeah, the
didn't I?
back. Yeah.
At the back.
There are, there's a bit there, but not massively.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I helped out.
He did. Oh.
I just had a really silly Weeven moment. I ordered some fungal nail cream for the old lady across the road.
You are Alan Partridge.
And yes.
And a bottle of Dettol.
I ordered some fungal nail cream for the lady across the road, and I went over there and I completely forgot. I was just so excited that I was going to be talking to you guys for the first time in a week, and I was like, I opened the door and she sort of stood back, and I knocked on the door and she opened it, and she sort of stood back, and I was like, oh, you're being a bit offish today. And then I handed her the parcel, and she sort of like took it from me, and then as I sort of stepped in the door, she went even further back, and I was like, oh, you're being really funny.
Oh my god.
And then she said, oh yeah, how much do I owe you? And I said, oh, £50. Oh, it's gone up £3 since I bought it, so you saved £3. Isn't that brilliant?
He is an old lady before his time.
It's an old lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was more like SpongeBob or something.
Yeah.
And then she said, oh, I'll get you, shall I drop the money round? And I said, yeah, okay, if you like. And then she said, no, actually, I'll pay you. And she sort of like rummaged around for ages. And I stood in the doorway, and I was like, oh, I feel like the Avon boy, you know, the little boy who comes and drops the Avon off. Yeah,
Avon boy?
Like it.
Yeah.
How it feels now.
It's Avon lady, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, oh no,
Like a
and then I was
chimney
like,
sweep.
oh, look, there's my window up there. I could wave to you from over there. We could wave at each other. Wouldn't that be brilliant? And then she was like, and then she sort of like, at arm's length handed me the £15, and I was like, oh, bye then. And I thought, oh, she was a bit. And then I got her back, and then I thought, oh, I just had a mental blockage.
Oh yes, we're in a pandemic.
But I've been self-isolated. She
Yes.
has.
Well, it's important that you
so
do.
I'm hoping that.
Like I said, the reason I didn't want you to come round sort of right from the very beginning is because you have asthma and
Yeah.
you would be at risk, so. But yeah, it is very strange because there's been a couple of times, I don't know if anyone's following me on Twitter, but I'm at the moment struggling to get my medication. I've been down to the chemist thinking that it's there a couple of times, and it's a really weird experience. Like there's a house along the street that's got pictures of their kids' rainbows, like kids' drawings of rainbows, and they've stuck them on the house facing outwards for people.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
The kids over the road have done that too.
Yeah, it's like apparently it's a thing where kids can see their friends' houses if they're out for a walk or something like that, which I think is very
It's
sweet.
nice, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's some key workers as well who are doing it, like important workers or something. They're doing like bright things on their windows or something, and then you go into the chemist, and over over the radio kind of thing is just this constant kind of make sure you keep 6 feet away from each other and make sure it's like an apocalypse. It's like in a film of an apocalypse. It's really, really weird. Oh.
I know, and it's all because like if you sneeze or cough, you know the trajectory.
Yes.
Trajectory.
Indeed.
Is like could be quite far. So actually 2 meters might not be enough.
No.
If someone sneezes and just it projectiles it into the.
Well.
It's all about the droplets.
Indeed. Well, it's like that silly old... I hate to be rude about someone, but that silly old cow who walked past me when I was trying to get into the chemist, and there was no room for me to sort of back up, and she came out of the chemist and insisted on almost literally brushing past me, putting her face almost in mine and going, "Good morning." And I was like, thanks. You know, either you know, you could get really ill or I could get really ill, you know.
Or someone else that you come in contact with can get rid of.
It's like she's either batty or forgot or doesn't believe in it at all, you know.
Well, I got the impression I could be completely misreading it because I was so sort of shaken by the medication thing, and I could have misread it, but it seemed very much like she was going, "Oh, this is all so silly."
A protest.
Yeah.
A protest, hello.
Who knows? I don't know.
Dirty protest.
A dirty
protest.
But that's what she wanted.
It was a dirty protest.
Dirty protest. That's very different.
It's kind of the same.
Hands, did she?
No, but it's in this case, you know, it's kind of the same thing.
She was kind of holding back. She's like, well, there's a pandemic on. I better sort of hold back and not do the dirty protest this time. I'll just get in people's faces instead.
Yeah, I'll just scream morning greetings at them. Okay, so
what's quite surreal, seeing half of your face, Maddie, and Bill keeps like scratching his leg, but it looks on the camera.
Oh,
like
that's not his leg.
He's playing.
It's not. It certainly isn't.
It's not his leg.
It's not my leg.
He does like a good scratch.
His third leg.
My third leg. Yeah.
He's scratched that. Now he's scratching his beard. His face.
Rubbing it all over my moustache.
You're not supposed to touch your face, Bill.
I think we're fine. We don't do anything or go anywhere, but you know. But he has got like where he has just scratched.
I literally haven't been out for probably 4 or 5 weeks now, isn't it? 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe?
It's just this.
Literally haven't slept out for 4 weeks.
If I could just get this medication thing sorted. Okay, let's change the subject. Should we begin before I start getting stressed out again?
Yeah.
Let us begin.
Let us begin. Okay, well, the first thing, like, it's not funny, it's just very odd. Like, it is just very peculiar. Are you on the first link that I sent you, Weeven?
You haven't sent me any links.
I emailed them to you.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's what I was asking you earlier on when I got in contact. Oh, there they are!
Yes.
Jolly good. So, yeah. So,
Okay.
say when.
Okay, so first link now. Is it the lady in the car, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
I've got
Ready?
Jesus blood.
Yeah, watch.
No, I'm covered in Jesus' blood.
Oh, it's like a really dramatic news story. There's an interview with the lady.
Driving out of this Ohio parking lot is a woman who just attended a church service with dozens of other people, including children.
Oh my
I
God.
asked about your decision to go to church to be inside that building.
I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Aren't you concerned you could infect other people if you get sick inside?
No.
People that don't go to this
No.
church.
I'm covered in Jesus' blood. I'm covered in Jesus'
Well, what about
blood.
other people who don't go to this church who you might...
You're covered in Jesus' phlegm, lady.
That wouldn't be
These people go to this
very
church.
hygienic, would it? If she was actually
I go to the
doused in
grocery store
blood.
every day.
No.
I go to Walmart,
What?
Home Depot, all of those
But you
people.
could get them sick from what happens in
They
the
could
church.
get me sick, but they're not because I'm covered in his blood. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Well, so because
Come.
you're all right, covered in his phlegm. It doesn't matter about everybody else. I don't.
Covered as well.
Yeah, it's really
It's
like.
kind of a weird way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not
Covered in
very.
it.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's slightly unpleasant. It's got an unpleasant.
So she basically believes she's protected,
yes.
and everyone else who goes there is protected.
Yes. And
Well, yeah, okay.
What? Go on. What?
Well, I mean, each to their own, but I mean that's clearly wrong, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, there's not. I can't. Yeah, I'm
Each
lost
to
for
their
words.
own, but
I'm
that's
lost-
clearly wrong.
I'm
It's
lost for
true.
words. Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite speechless when I saw
I
it.
don't believe in science. Where has science got us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do wonder about if there is a belief in evolution or anything like that at all in this case.
This car that I'm driving, like I only have to think, and like Jesus drives it for me.
Into
It's
a
a
load of
Tesla.
kids.
That's what a Tesla is. Elon Musk is a messenger from God.
Yeah. Oh God, can you imagine if he was?
You can tell she doesn't drive a Tesla actually.
Have you seen? I don't know if anyone watches Gus Johnson, but if you need a good chuckle, he's a very good channel. I know you do, Weeven, but I'm not sure if anyone watching does. But he did a video recently on who's that guy who they've got like an evangelical show, and it's this guy and two others, and basically they're just trying to deal with this man who's just all lost it basically, and every now and then he'll do these weird like facial contortions, and then he'll say something like,
Oh yeah.
fear is a sin, so like everyone's scared and
Did he
confused.
get arrested?
Did he? I know
One
he's
of those guys did. One of those guys who was just ignoring it all and saying that, you know, everyone's fine. You know, the congregation will be okay because I said that Jesus is looking after them and everything's fine. Oh,
Yeah, it's. I don't know if that's him, but I know that I think he was one of the guys.
is this the next video?
No, but we can go to the next video. I know that he was one of the guys.
I can't hear you because Internet Today's on.
Oh, can you hear me now? We've got nothing playing here.
Oh, it's me! What a thick bastard. It's auto-played. So,
Okay.
and I didn't realise it was going to autoplay. Bloody autoplay, eh?
I don't
Wanna
have
switch that
autoplay
off?
on. I don't like it. It's too stressful. Like, I've listened to that, but I might not want to listen to this. Don't
No.
make me go over there.
So you'll have to cut that bit out, Maddie. I'm very
No,
sorry.
don't worry
Good
about
job
it.
we're not live streaming, isn't it?
Yeah, no, don't. I'll leave it in. Don't worry about it.
What?
But no, he's one of the guys who said, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that God told him to get a private jet. I think he's one of those guys. You know,
Right,
the evangelical men who are like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
God told me to get these, I don't know, golden teeth and
Yeah.
a
They've got a
golden
private
lace.
jet and yeah.
Right, why have you got this
Underpants.
private jet? Well, God told me to.
Yeah. So let's have a look at yours.
Okie dokie. It's the Grant Morrison thing. Now, Grant Morrison is a comic writer, and he's been going for years. I first knew about his stuff when I read Arkham Asylum. I may have seen it. I may have seen his work in 2000 AD. I wouldn't have remembered probably. But anyway, he has got this kind of developed this philosophy on life partly due to an experience he had in Kathmandu.
Kathmandu.
Where he walked up the top of a temple and kind of managed to communicate with some kind of beings. So this is just quite an interesting, silly follow-on from what we were talking about last time with the artist guy with the with showing the pictures of alien spaceships in historical art.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But this is kind of like it's quite an interesting philosophy, and I'd like to hear what you think about it. I mean, he obviously has taken a lot of drugs. Apparently, he wasn't that high when he had this experience.
Yeah.
But if he's into, he's a very intelligent man, but if he's into the occult and magic and all of those things, then he's going to be looking for that, isn't he? So
yes.
I don't know whether that would leave you open for kind of...
It's like when I read the comic From Hell, Alan Moore, obviously, there's a really big section near the beginning where he points out that someone's like taking one of the characters by carriage ride through the city before the main things happen.
Yeah.
And they're pointing out all of the masonry symbols throughout the city. Yeah. And I was reading it, I was like, this is interesting, but I wonder how much of this is actually true. Like, is it actually masonry symbols, or is it just Alan Moore thinking that they are masonry symbols? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the thing is, the Freemasons, if you're generally somewhere in society, you'll have links to or be a Freemason, because it's like a gang for businessmen to get together and kind of network and all that sort of thing, you know, and help each other out. And up at a higher level, that's where supposedly it gets shadier, and the lower level Masons, because it's a pyramid scheme, then they don't really know what the higher ones are up to, you know.
They don't.
But I mean, it's logical that architecture and all sorts of elements of details of the London, you know, monuments and everything is going to have an element of that in it, because it's likely that the people who were doing it were Freemasons.
Yes, I do. Yeah, so I gathered that there is going to be some, obviously, but you know, I just wondered, like, is it?
Alan Moore's obsessed with the occult, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like an old he considers himself an old-fashioned magician, much like a kind of a follow-on from Crowley, sort of.
Definitely.
That
Crowley,
kind of thing.
Aleister Crowley,
Grant Morrison's got a kind of a different philosophy, which is kind of linked to that. Oh, he doesn't get on with Alan Moore at all, by the way. They kind of...
I can see that Alan Moore wouldn't get on with very many people.
No, he's very cantankerous.
Yeah.
And so his is kind of more like a fusion of like more of a kind of a more modern kind of... I don't know, it's kind of like he's made his own version of the more sort of hippie kind of philosophy that came out of the 60s and 70s, and kind of done his own kind of punk rock thing with it. But because I'm waffling on a bit here.
Yeah, I want to get to it.
A lot of these writers who went and worked for comics in the early 80s, they transitioned from Britain to America. They
like Neil Gaiman.
were obviously just coming out of punk.
Yeah.
So they kind of had that ethos, and they kind of like leaked into their work, oozed into their work. So anyway,
like Jesus's blood.
Like Jesus, covered in Jesus goo.
Physics. This is actual physical reality when you think about it. Because most people don't consider the dimension of time in their lives, because the way we live is to only see sections of time.
He's a Scotsman.
So to try and explain it as quickly as possible in a way that everyone will understand. Right, you stand here in front of me with your microphone, but in order to get here you had to come through that door. So can you point to coming through that door? You know what I mean? In order to get here today you had to be 10 years old. Can you point to being 10 years old? No, you can't, because in the way that we experience time, we can only see it in memory. We can't actually go there, even though we know there is a place called the past where all this stuff happened and where all those old comics came from and where you as a kid live. You can't go there. You can't even point. You can't show me a direction where the past is. But think of yourself as the leading edge of you, right? This is you right now. You're moving forward through time. But behind you there's all these different versions of you going back and back and back. Same for all the guys in here, same for me. I go back through that. I
tell you what, sorry, just to stop it there, but Bill and I have been watching a couple of really good series. One of them is Dispatches from Elsewhere, which is really sweet, and it's inspired by that documentary, The Institute. I recommend both of those things. They are both good. But we've also been watching Devs, which is Alex Garland's new thing, and that just really made me think of it. I don't know about you, but I don't want to say too much, but there's an element of this Isaac Asimov short story and if I say the title of the story, it's going to completely give it away. But they did do an adaptation of it in that old sci-fi series, Out of the Unknown.
Wow.
After this, more.
That sounds very good.
It's really good. I like it very much. Okay.
It contains all of you, and it's got all these arms and all these eyes, and it moves backwards through the door and backwards down the stairs, and it's getting younger all the time through that trail. But like I say, we can't see that, but if you could see it, it would look like a huge snake. And it would keep going back, and there's lots of those snakes, and they all weave together. Every one of those kids running about, everyone here all starts going backwards through time. And eventually you get to be 1 year old. Somewhere in time you are right now 1 year old, because if you were not 1 year old you couldn't be here today. And that 1 year old then disappears up in his mother's womb. Right? So, but you're still physical, you're still the same you, except it's getting smaller and smaller, and then it goes in there, and that same physical thing divides into an egg cell and a sperm cell. And the egg cell grows out of your mother, so it's still nothing's
just
going
explaining
away.
reproduction there.
An egg in your mother and a sperm cell getting up inside your father. And the same thing happens to your mother and father going back into their mothers and fathers.
At this stage of the party, talking to this guy, I'd be like, I've got to get a Diet Coke.
I'd say...
But I will be right back.
Excuse me, yeah, do you know where the cheeselets are?
So you're starting to see this, and you take it right back. It's like everybody in the human race goes back to the same human root, and then somewhere along the evolutionary tree we're joined by apes, but it's all still one thing. The tree is the one thing, and the tree is rooted in 3.5 billion years ago in the ocean, which was when the first living cell appeared and started to divide. And as I said in there, the first mitochondrial cell, the DNA cell, is still dividing inside your body right now.
It's kind of like a really overcomplicated way of when they used to say in the 60s, like, we're all one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, totally, but I actually find it quite a nice, comforting thing, you know?
There's nothing wrong or bad or anything.
I like people that talk in that way. I find it quite sort of inspirational that people sort of... I mean, he's obviously really inspired by that idea. You can tell by the way he's talking about it. And I find that...
Apparently it was kind of given to him by some kind of divine beings, whether they were aliens or but yeah, anyway, continue it. It's
immortal. It's never died, it never went anywhere, it just keeps dividing and making more copies of itself in all living forms. So what we actually are is this amazing divided single cell, which has grown itself across 3.5 billion years into a gigantic... Imagine, I see it in my head as like an anemone made out of people and bodies, and so we're the leading edge of the smart part of it, because we can think better than most of the other animals.
Like a really big caterpillar.
We've got a kind of way of connecting.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm
the anus. I'm the anus. Remember.
Even the anus can think. You know, I can see it happening. I can see the thoughts churning over there. But so yeah, I mean that's what it is. If you can understand that simple thing, where if you can see the whole thing, the whole idea of life as an thing existing in time, and there's only this one huge thing that lives on the planet Earth, a huge living entity that feeds on the forests and feeds on itself, and that's us. That's what we really are. And if you can imagine yourself right now on your body, like the skin cells come off and die, like millions of them, all
sort of like the ecosystem.
Yeah.
The time, every 10 seconds you're losing like millions of skin cells or whatever it is. Can't remember the exact number.
But it feeds itself again.
Yeah, but imagine you were one of those skin cells. Every single skin cell has got a little architecture inside. It's got proteins, it's got all this stuff, it's got a function, it does things. If there's an infection, the cells will run in and fight the war for you. So imagine how it feels to be one of those cells, you know, in your body. Does it think the way we do? Does it get its part? So I'm thinking of we're like that on the big body. Because when one of your cells flakes away, it dries up and it dies. Can you imagine that moment for the little cell that thought it was really cool and it's got a job to do, and then suddenly, oh my god, I'm dying, and it drops away. But your body stays still there. It's part of you dead on the floor, but your body's still alive. So imagine that on the big scale, in the way that we imagine these bodies we're in die and fade and get shriveled and dry and drop dead.
Quite like looking
but the actual living, the big living thing never dies. It hasn't died yet. It just keeps renewing itself, and we're the cells that allow it to renew itself. And I kind of believe that what we call consciousness, that sense that we can all think and share thoughts, is...
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
actually how the big thing thinks. And we're kind of in the river of that consciousness when we're alive. You know, when we die, we leave it, but it doesn't die. It never dies. So I kind of see that nobody ever dies on the planet, really.
I wonder what he. Oh no. I wonder what he said to like after that.
What was his response?
It's like time. There's no such thing as time, and it's just this strand where everything's interconnected, and it's like there's all one creature that's continuously learning and expanding knowledge to a point where then it can like transcend or something. So we are part of that creature. I just thought it was a really interesting kind of idea.
I can see definitely why you would like that sort of thing. I think you do enjoy to drift towards that sort of thing, don't you?
Yes. No, well, it's just an interesting concept, and you know, I think, I mean, we're never really going to know, are we? But I like to hear enthusiastic, as you said, enthusiastic people.
Yes,
who
definitely. I like
have
it.
experiences and want to communicate them.
Yeah,
You know, kind of throwing different ideas into the pot. And,
I find that
you know,
kind of.
And to me, this is kind of just as valid, or even more valid than everything else that you might hear.
Yeah, I kind of find that more interesting than kind of the content of what he's saying, really.
Yes.
It's how passionate he is about what he's saying. I love that, you know.
I found this Bill Barr thing. Do you mind just listening to the audio?
Yeah, okay.
And the stridence.
Bill Barr being a lawyer who was involved in the Bush administration, and he's has some political thing.
Of the partisan attacks on him has gotten higher and higher, and it's really disappointing to see. And the politicization of decisions like the hydroxychloroquine has been amazing to me.
It feels like, understandably, everyone is trying to find an answer. Everybody is trying to find their own solution. Unfortunately, that has bred, it's created a breeding ground for misinformation. For instance, cures that people are touting online, concoctions of different medications, etc. We read about malaria drugs and chloroquine or whatever it is. What is the biggest warning you would give to the general public about trying to self-medicate, or is there any cure that people actually have discovered? What, as a leading health expert, what do you say about this issue?
So right now, today, as we speak, there is no proven safe and effective direct therapy for coronavirus.
Don't drink bleach.
There are a number of clinical trials that are trying to, by randomized controlled trials, get a definitive answer as to what works and what does work, not work, what's safe, what's not safe. Superimposed upon that, there are drugs that are already approved for other things, like hydroxychloroquine for malaria and for certain autoimmune diseases, that there have been anecdotal stories. By anecdotal, I mean people kind of think they work, but they haven't really proven they work.
Yeah, so Trump obviously said, hydroxychloroquine, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. I think he suggested that it worked, and some people ended up in hospital because they basically drank cleaning fluid. Not a lot of people, but some people.
That's really gotten out there on the internet, so people are very enthusiastic, since generally these drugs appear to be safe, and they are, but they do have some toxicities. So a lot of people want a drug even though it's not proven, just in case it might help them. You got to be careful about that for a couple of reasons. You don't want to take that drug off the market for the people who really need it, who have the diseases it's used for. And on the other hand, there may be some toxicity. That's the reason why we're pushing to try and get as many good clinical trials as possible.
Yeah, so basically that's, this guy was just saying,
Attorney General, it's great seeing you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Right now we have
people are being mean.
No freedom of worship, public worship to gather. We have no real freedom of assembly, not even freedom of movement, given what some of the states are doing. What can you tell our viewers tonight about what the Justice Department will do after this limited period to ensure that our civil liberties are balanced properly against the need to protect the public?
Well, generally speaking, there are occasions where liberties have to be restricted.
Yeah, don't go and stand in a church with a ton of people complaining about your liberties being taken away when you could be passing on.
Even if you are covered in Jesus' blood.
Yeah, you never know.
As a technical matter, as you know, in facing an emergency, the government can put whatever restrictions the government's willing to put on everybody else, like athletic events or concerts, and hide under the bed, but allow them to use other ways, social distancing and other means, to protect themselves.
Would there become a time in the future, perhaps after this April 30th date, where a state somewhere or a local official who declares no religious services with no accommodation, that there's a lawsuit filed, federal civil rights lawsuit against that government?
Why is that such a thing, though? I don't get it. Like, if you're religious, then you'd want to protect people, and you wouldn't want to go out. Anyway, it was just a thing that I found interesting, and he was whiffling and so on. So, but that's
I'm not sure I understand. So, is he trying to basically protect Trump's the way that Trump put this kind of information out there and sort of gullible people?
From what I could see, he was just saying that it was disappointing that people were criticising this thing that Trump suggested, which hasn't really I mean, there aren't any cures at the moment. Nothing is going to stop you from getting it right now unless it's been, definitely tested again. So when he said, why don't you try this, and some people got ill. Go on.
Yeah, well, if you're in a position of power like that, obviously you don't just talk bollocks.
Yeah, exactly.
To try and he's basically like a really bad PR man, spokesman for some used car company. That's the kind of level that you're dealing with here, and I don't know.
Anyway.
So and I think that you've got a silly face.
Thank you. Anyway, I think we'll stop it there because I want to get back to devs.
Don't you think? Just saying. Don't. Well, I wasn't just saying. I'm saying now.
Go on.
That it's a bit weird as well. I know you're not very well at the moment, but don't you think that the general, it's kind of showing that we're under this kind of new strain, this new type of strain that we're not used to dealing with this pandemic thing, and don't you think that it's sort of coming out in I know we're discussing it on the actual on your video, but it's kind of like it's kind of confusing we're a little bit scatty today, and everything seems a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the thing is I'm sort of at the point where if my tablets aren't sorted out soon, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. I've got to phone the chemist tomorrow again, and I don't know if that's going to be.
I thought you sorted all that out.
Well, they said they had. But oh god, it's so long and involved. I'll talk to you on the phone afterwards.
Anyway, everyone's going a bit stir crazy.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the pressure's on.
Well, I think I get this sense of like coming togetherness. That's what I feel.
I think both exist, but I also see a lot of people who in their everyday lives are struggling. I think that people are coming together, but there's also like a thin veneer of.
See, I live I live quite sheltered from the media. I don't watch the news. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I'm very sheltered from outside information. Really,
my experience is completely different.
Yeah,
because
so
I'm always.
all I see is this. I kind of get this sense from my perspective of like. You know how you'd imagine it when it was the war,
Yeah, it's like
and
that
the fact that
camaraderie
the
kind of
country
thing.
comes
It's,
together as
Yeah.
one to fight.
I mean that.
You know, coming
doesn't-
together. That's the sense I get. You know, the other day with the clap off thing, there was suddenly like fireworks going off and cars tooting their horns and it just gave me a really good feeling.
But
you
like
know?
I mean, yeah, it's nice and good. I'm not going to knock it. I'm not. But like I say, you know, it's always a thin veneer, isn't it? There's always everything else going on underneath.
Yeah.
There's people coping from day to day. There's people trying to get their medication, like me. There's people having to go to work. There's people dealing with, like the NHS worker who got a letter on her car telling her that she was being selfish wherever she was driving to every day, you know.
I suppose that's exactly why that thing that I was just talking about exists, is to try and make people feel better about all the crap that's going on.
Well, that's what happened, I guess, in the war. It was so terrible that people had to convince themselves that it was brilliant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But anyway, on that note, I will see you soon.
Yes, I was going to say something then, but I can't remember what it was.
Oh dear.
What it was.
Indeed. Well, I will speak to you soon, Weeven.
Yes, I'm hoping that you might be able to use at least some of what
Yeah, will do.
today.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.